I'm actually an introvert. I am mortified to perform, but I have to do it all the time. So I will look at myself in the mirror and I just say, "You got to go make that paper." And it is so, it's dumb, but I remember that my livelihood depends on this, and sometimes it's just showing up. And then the other thing is I've imagined, and this might be a little bit of the fake it till you make it, but it's worked for me many times. I had to speak for about 45 minutes on the largest stage I've ever been on. And I've been on national TV, but that's different. Like you're just behind a camera and there's a few people in the studio. But a live stage, that's a little bit different. And my friends were in the audience too. So that was also something that I think I was more nervous about them seeing me, because they assumed that I would be good at this. They had never seen me do this thing. And I remember I was having a meltdown backstage, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness." And so I imagined this dragon that was sitting inside me, and that she was gonna come on and, like, kinda push me on stage. Like, I even gave her a name. I named her Chaka Khan. I don't know why, but her name is Chaka Khan.
This is your first time watching or listening, the Content Crowd is a podcast where we like to explore what makes content resonate, from creative point of view shifts to behind the scenes breakdowns, and more, so that listeners and also me alike can, kind of stop mimicking others and start making content for ourselves that actually matters. And I first just want to address the location. I am not typically here. This is not my studio. I'm actually traveling. This week, I'm at B2BMX in California. So just wanted to address that. I'm sitting outside because I thought it would be very boring, but also inappropriate to be sitting in my hotel room or in the conference room right now. So I'm out here on the ground, and there are people all around me who are watching this live as well. So I just want to let you guys know the kind of sacrifice I go through. It's definitely a sacrifice to be in California, right? Recording a podcast is part of my job, so Anyway, I would love to go ahead and welcome our guest today, which is Joshua Harrell, like Pharrell. I made sure that I had that in my mind. Hey, Josh, how are you today?
I'm good. You're cracking me up already, Trevor. It's good to see you.
Good. I've before we hopped on, there was somebody like, "Oh, do you want to sit on this bench?" And I was like, "No. I'm going to do this right here." And I was like, "I'm recording a podcast, so like, I was like, can you take a picture of me to prove, like, I can't be any more cringe or awkward than I currently am." But I am also at a marketing conference, so like, people are walking around filming themselves. Like, I feel very at home in recording this podcast live on the lawn. At this, people are out here having lunch and things. So it's
Yeah,
you know,
you're doing what they dream to be doing, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
practicing what you preach.
yeah, everybody's like sitting, they're sitting up in the conference room stuffy and talking about synergy and stuff. And I'm out here like, living the life. I mean, some days I have to remember that this is what I do.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Well, let's start off. And I just want to just tell me like who you are and what you do.
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Joshua Harrell, just like Pharrell, in so many ways. I'll take that. I am the Chief Revenue Officer over at Worldvia Travel Network. We are a host agency who hosts thousands of travel agency owners and advisors across the United States. So I get to support thousands of entrepreneurs, which I love because I have been a serial entrepreneur all my life. So this is exactly where it should be. But the chief revenue officer does not mean that I'm Scrooge McDucking it in the coins, swimming through those coins, right? No, I'm in charge of marketing, sales, and service delivery. Everything that your brand strategy touches, that is in my world, and I couldn't be happier with what I do.
I would love to just for you to walk through that a little bit more, because I think it's very interesting that you brought up like I'm the chief revenue officer, but I'm not like sitting there like you said. I'm not Scrooge McDuck. I'm not just looking at spreadsheets all day. You're talking about brand management and brand strategy. Let's can we like just quickly like why do we immediately think of like when we think of revenue, we're thinking of like finance and spreadsheets, and you're talking about building a brand. I mean, you have one of the most exciting backgrounds I've ever seen. It's definitely not what your typical accountant or local, CPA's office looks like. So let's talk through that real quick.
Yeah, so I can't take credit for the title, but there was a movement a few years ago where CMOs were rebranding themselves as the chief revenue officer, because at the end of the day, marketing is serving the bottom line. I mean, you need marketing is all the touch points, right? From hiring to how service is delivered, how you're selling product. I mean, it is everything. But so often in organizations, marketing is an afterthought. It is just something that we need to do to generate leads, right? And so somebody much smarter than I said, you know what? Let's make sure that we're not the people who put together tweets. We are or emails. We are the people who drive revenue. And I'll say for our organization, I started as the chief marketing officer, and we reorged around revenue. And it was fascinating to me to have this conversation with the team that reported to me already. The only thing that really changed was my label. But talked about how we as a host agency make money. And it blew me away that so many of our team members on various different teams did not understand um, that we were a travel agency, that we actually sold travel, and how we made money on travel. And more importantly, how they contributed to our ability to make money as a company. So I think they probably wondered, probably in the beginning, why they were reporting to the CMO. But then all of a sudden, when I explained, oh no, you're reporting to the CRO, and then all of a sudden it started to make sense. But the thing is those lines were already there. The purpose of marketing is to serve the needs of the business to generate revenue. So that is the origin story. I did not come up with the title. I just grabbed that. I'm very much prone to being inspired by different movements that are going on. I'd say as a marketer, you're the same way. The moment there's a new idea out there, you're like, yes, how can
Right.
I plus that idea, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's doing all the things I love, because I don't just love doing a campaign. I like building the product that we are going to sell. I like seeing how does that actually resonate in the marketplace, and then more importantly, how does our team deliver either service around that product, or if it's a service product, how do they deliver the service? So it does take out a lot of the siloing that happens in many organizations, where it's like marketing hates sales, hates marketing, and nobody talks to the service people, right?
Yeah.
It's one group in my team.
That's I love the way you frame that because I mean it's so true that oftentimes like unless you're working for an agency or you're working for some sort of like consulting, like marketing is kind of almost seemed like the last, it's like the first thing to kind of get dollars cut, the first thing to get things, allocation taken away, and then it's like, well, then what drives revenue? And I also love how you framed it. Like the revenue officer is not like thinking about, I mean, obviously we're thinking about money all the time, but we're not like, you're not looking at spreadsheets. You're performing actions that are going to drive revenue. You're facilitating and helping do things that drive revenue. And I think that's just such a uh, great way to frame it. Like again, we're thinking about things that drive revenue, and I mean, oftentimes it's marketing, and part of that is creating content and doing all these other things under that. And it's like, you know, changing it from we're doing marketing for the sake of trying to get our name out there versus we are doing marketing that drives revenue. If I change my title to revenue officer, we are talking about what drives revenue, not just what makes our name sound, what not just what makes our website functional, essentially.
100%. And I don't know if you cringe like I do, but when someone says we just need to get our name out there, there is I have a visceral reaction to that because then that's when everybody goes into like scattershot mode. Like, I had a client when I worked at a B2B marketing agency, and they said we just need a viral video. And I was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's just do a viral video. Like, let's just make that happen. Like, that's just like something we can tick the box and do." And it's surprising too. I have a content team that reports to me, and they're responsible for all the content that is created across our ecosystem. But we have made it very clear to all of our team members that they've got to create content. They're subject matter experts in all their various different subjects. It is important
Yeah.
to have video content, blog content, social content, that highlights that, and that's a part of our brand strategy. We host entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need an expert in accounting, in the money, marketing, sales, travel, even down to operations. And a question, for many of our entrepreneurs, is how do I set up my office, like my filing system, for the future, like to stay organized as a business owner. That's a real topic. That's something that people are searching for. That's a way that they can discover us. And if we have all of our team actively participating in content, then they help us show, not tell, that we have that expertise within our company. And I wish more companies would I mean, this has been around for a long time. Content marketing has been around for a long time, but I think people still think it's the intern's job to create content. Wow, I just got very
Yeah.
preachy there. I got
No,
really
no.
preachy.
I know, I love that. But like, what if, have you asked anybody? Do they want to start one? If you gave them the tools and the scripts and help them figure out how do you source guests and how do you do these things, would they start one and want to talk about it? Would they post on LinkedIn more often if they had the tools and maybe also just the permission? I think sometimes it's permission. I feel like a lot of times we get worried to post or build a personal brand on LinkedIn because what if my boss sees that and he thinks that or they think, he or she think that I'm trying to, I don't know, go off and do something else and still offer business. I think that we get in our minds, and whether that's true, I'm sure it's true at some places, but like, I think like give your employees, that love working for you, that are already raving fans of your company, and give them the tools and the permission to create and show them how to. And like, man, that becomes like probably one of your best marketing investments is empowering your employees to be evangelists for you in a way.
100%. And I think you're right. It's the permission, right? And as a boss, as a leader, you have to be okay with it getting a little messy sometimes, because it is such a leap of faith for so many people to create, just taking a blog article or even taking a photo and posting it on your social. So many team members go through this, like, is this good enough? Oh, it's not good enough, right? And we hear this from entrepreneurs all the time, like they have to have the best lighting, the best cameras. No, just if you do not hit record and publish, none of it matters. The
Yeah.
equipment is not going to do it for you, right? So the permission, and from a leader perspective, you don't know what is going to hit. And you by giving your team the permission to explore, create, you might unlock things that you never even dreamed of. You might find that you have somebody with enough gravitational pull just naturally, like they're just naturally good at it,
Yeah.
and that becomes something that grows exponentially over time. But it does
Yeah.
take confidence and vulnerability at the same time.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned like it might being a little bit messy, and then also like you never know who's just going to sort of bloom. And this makes me think of I was watching like an interview with a showrunner of a YouTube show, and they have a lot of people who work behind the scenes. And one of the questions was like, like, how do you know have the gift on camera? And they were like, I don't. I might get a writer to be on camera a few times, or I might get somebody else to be on camera a few times, and then they don't bring the energy of like, I'm going to like show out in front of the camera. They just bring the energy of themselves, and you see people bloom, and that's how you know who is really good on camera and who has the personality. And it's like, you've got to give everybody, that's comfortable with it, obviously, but everybody who is comfortable or could be like a shot, and let it be messy and figure out, let them kind of fill in the process and make it work for them. And you'd be like, yeah, surprised by who actually can bloom. And I also just want to mention, you said perfect lighting and perfect camera. I'm using my MacBook webcam and my like gamer headset, and I'm just sitting in a lawn. So, sometimes don't worry about the perfect lighting. Just hit record and post it. And, I think we're living proof of that right now. We're just making it work on the fly.
Absolutely, and people love that authenticity. And I because I work with so many entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are just getting started. They're just so they don't have clients that they can annoy or turn away. They're looking for clients. And they could be sitting in their garage office, waiting for a web form to come in or a phone call to come in, right? They're looking for a lead. And I oftentimes I say, just get out your phone. What would you say to someone if they did call you and wanted to talk about, going to Europe on a river cruise that you were so passionate about? Capture that, because that is what you'll deliver when somebody actually contacts you. So just showing up and capturing yourself, you are good enough. And I'd say this a lot. I got it from a song. I can't even think of the name of the group, but the line in the song is, there's only one me in the galaxy. I'm an endangered species. And I have grabbed that and made that a mantra, because you don't have to worry. Even if we're all in the same business, you don't have to. There's plenty of business for everybody. There's the key differentiator is you. But when you try to be somebody else, you will always fail. You can never sustain that. But if you show up as you, even if you're awkward, if you are socially awkward, baby, let me tell you, there is a tribe out there for you. If you are like, I am not for everybody, you're not for everybody, right? But the people who come to us, they're the right people that should be with us. It's when we try to play actor that I find that people have a hard time. And it can be in writing, it can be in video content, it could be even in just a static social content. It's very hard to maintain a fake persona, or at least that's my belief.
Yeah, no, I love that you bring that up, because I know we talked about, try like being yourself and not trying to step into a fictional character. And one, I think that is really great advice. It's probably maybe harder to follow for some people, but I think like especially now when you're online and you meet somebody in real life, you never want to like meet somebody in real life and then be like, oh, you're not what I thought you were, or you don't act the way that you do. Like, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of performative, I think, when you're recording, but I mean, I think for the most part, like everybody I've met here, they've seen me act the exact same way that they've seen me act in other places. So I don't think anybody's surprised, which is, I think, is good. But I think like when you brought that up, I thought, part of advice that we hear is, like, fake it till you make it, or pretend that you are the thing you want to be. You want to be a podcaster, like, well, you've got to act like one. You want to be a YouTuber, you got to act like whatever that may be. So how do you strike the balance of like being your authentic self, being that unique being that you mentioned like in the song, and but also and maybe like building yourself up to be the person you're meant to be without it being too performative or being too fictional or creating like a character unintentionally?
Wow. We're getting deep here, Trevor.
Yeah, we're getting,
But
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get philosophical here.
This is what everybody really does need to know, right? So, you're right. There is a fake it till you make it element, and I can only speak from my experience. Now, fortunately, I've been able to see this play out. I believe success leaves clues, and I'm a professional clue picker, upper, and sharer, right? So I've seen so many people start their entrepreneur journey, and fake it till they make it, in good ways and bad ways, right? So in some ways, you have to step into your power. You have to say, I am I am a successful business person. My vision of myself is this, and I'm going to show up this way. Um, I I have two things that I do. And I don't know that this is going to apply to everybody, but guys, I'm being vulnerable here. I don't know that I've ever actually said this on any kind of broadcast. Well, I know I've said this part. So if you are a solopreneur, or if you are the head of your team of one, right? And your livelihood depends on it. I have looked myself in the mirror before I have to do something like walk on stage. I am actually an introvert. I am mortified to perform, but I have to do it all the time. So I will look at myself in the mirror and I just say, you got to go make that paper. And it is so it's dumb, but I remember that my livelihood depends on this. And sometimes it's just showing up. And then the other thing is I've imagined, and this might be a little bit of the fake it till you make it, but it's worked for me many times. I had to speak for about 45 minutes on the largest stage I've ever been on. And I've been on national TV, but that's different. Like you're just behind a camera and there's a few people in the studio. But a live stage, that's a little bit different. And my friends were in the audience too. So that was also something that I think I was more nervous about them seeing me, because they assumed that I would be good at this. They had never seen me do this thing. And I remember I was having a meltdown backstage, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness." And so I imagined this dragon that was sitting inside me, and that she was gonna come on and, like, kinda push me on stage. Like, I even gave her a name. I named her Chaka Khan. I don't know why, but her name is Chaka Khan. And the music hit for me to cue for me to go to start walking on stage. and and I imagined that Chaka Khan, a dragon, and she made me get up there. And once I was in flight, there was no stopping me. But I almost needed to be forced. Like I had to imagine somebody was forcing me to do it in order for me to do the thing. And guess what? I messed up so many times. I forgot, I lost track. I had to like refocus myself. At the end of the day, I was so happy I did it, but I don't think I had enough strength in me to do it. So I had to imagine something stronger, something bigger than me making me do it. So I don't know if I mean, that's just my personal secret. So if you hear me in the bathroom at an event and I'm like, you got to go make that paper, or I'm like, Shaka Khan, I need your help here. Those are the tricks, but they've worked for me.
Well, I'm just in like you get my face is like just lit up because this is incredible. First, I love the like you gotta go. I love that like just mantra like you gotta go make that paper. You gotta go do this thing. And I think there's definitely a lot of power in that. But man, the Shaka Khan dragon is like, I mean, if you don't have a blog or a book or anything called that, I think you need to like which I guess like you might get in a little bit of trouble with Shaka Khan herself. But like that's that is that's awesome. I am trying to think of even how to like follow up and ask a question that can have anything to do with that because it's such a like incredible thing that you just told me. And when you were imagining this dragon, was the dragon like? And this may be getting like too into the weeds about this, but I'm just wondering, like, did they pick you up and carry you? Was it just living inside of you, and you just kind of puffed up your chest, and you became like, did it become you? Like, I think that's just such a like I'm just like blown away because I really love that piece of advice, honestly.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Shaka Khan would be mortified to hear me say, but you know what, Shaka Khan, I love you. If I officiate weddings, and I always make the bride and groom allow me to work in a Shaka Khan lyric into the ceremony. So,
Really,
I mean, there's,
this is
I love some Shaka Khan.
man.
No, I think what a powerful name her name is. I think it's exactly what you said. It was imagining this stronger force stepping into me. And I remember the moment my foot hit the stairs to get on the stage because my legs were wobbling as I was walking to the stage. But when my foot hit down, it was almost like in a movie. It became a dragon's foot,
Mm.
and then my posture shot up, and I remember looking at this massive audience and making eye contact with a few people. I mean, that's a trick, especially like doing this while we're doing on camera. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you, but I've made
Yeah.
sure you are right behind that camera because I don't want to be looking all over the
Yeah.
place. I want to be able to be focused.
Mm.
So but I think at the end of the day, whether it's a dragon, you embodying a dragon, right? It's about you you don't have time to waste. Life is
Mhm.
short, and so many entrepreneurs, so many marketers, so many brand strategists, they give up. They go and do something else because it didn't hit for them.
Mm.
And I think what it all boils down to is I've had to make myself understand that I have to create content even when I've got bags under my eyes, even when I am switching context through the day. I've had a people ops meeting. I've had an income statement review. I've had a performance review I've had to give, right? Like I still have to create that content because what I've learned is people need to see the people that they're doing business with, and we see that with those founder-led companies.
Mhm.
We think about the people. We don't think about the team, the thousands of people. I mean, look at Amazon. We still think of Jeff Bezos like he's
Yeah.
the end all be all, but there's tons of leaders making that organization happen. Josh Tomorrow with Walt Disney Company. Yes, he's the big guy, but there are hundreds and thousands of team members, leaders making decisions every day. And in those organizations, obviously you have the structure. Somebody's making you do the thing.
Yeah.
When you're solo, you got to be able to do it on your own.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, right? Like I don't know, like recording this podcast, for example, like I'm blessed to have somebody who messaged me like you've got an episode lined up this week. Like that's a blessing. I don't know if you just find a friend that can do that, or maybe, I mean, maybe you have to like think of your own dragon in your head that's going to be like, are you going to do this thing today, or this that you're going to make that paper? There's a lot of power in that. And yeah, I don't know if you have, like, this is going a little bit off base, but I'm just wondering if you have, besides those two things you just talked about, like you're reminding yourself you have to do these things no matter how you feel, no matter if you've got, you didn't sleep enough, or you got to give somebody bad news. Like you've still got to, sort of change, like shift context real quick and, puff up your chest, so to speak, and go. I guess I'm like, how do you, other than just telling yourself to do it and just kind of like brute forcing, bending your own arm to do it, how do you make yourself keep going? Like I know, I think you've just said a lot of things like life is short, and there's a lot of good advice, but I think like some people will still hear all those things and go, well, that's easy to say because you're doing it, you're living the thing, and they're not seeing all the things before that. So like if somebody's listening right now and they're hearing this and they're like, oh, it's easy to do the thing when you're already doing it. It's easy for you to tell me just go do it. You're already doing it. How did you overcome any of that resistance yourself of like, I've got to go do the thing? How do you make yourself do the thing?
Well, I will say that like you, I'm probably in a very different scenario than most people, right? Because I am working with thousands of entrepreneurs that I know that if they show up consistently and create content, whether it's blog content, video content, social content, whatever, that they're going to win
Mm,
faster than someone who doesn't, right? So part of it is there's an audience out there who I need to be a good example for. And I one of the things that I think I learned, so a little bit about my background before I even got into travel. I worked for a company called Bare Minerals, and that's some natural makeup company.
mhm.
And we had retail stores, but we just happened to get on QVC back in the 90s. And I just happened, all by accident, all of this happened by accident. I just happened to be a part of the team that did that. And I learned something about live television. So I love a live stream. Give me a live stream any day, anytime over like a recording, because I learned that once it goes out, it's out. And just like when you're in person, you have to keep someone's attention, right? So, knowing that it's okay to mess up, because I did. We had an eyeshadow once. This, I'm not going to actually say the word, but it was called nude beach. Okay. Beach, like sand. And I said that so fast that it came out as another word, right? On live television,
I
right?
can imagine what
Yeah,
that
I
probably
think
was.
I think everyone can imagine what that word was. And the thing is I had a meltdown so fast. I didn't I would couldn't I could not get past it. It had flown out of my mouth. It couldn't be edited. It has now flown out of my mouth. But that taught me, because I had to ignore it and move right on, that taught me that it's okay. And I actually sold more makeup on that instance than I have ever, because I think people like the fact that I was a real person. I don't think that me cursing had anything to do with it, but I just think me messing up and maybe people feeling a little bit sorry for me helped. But I think you get rewarded with that consistency. So maybe you go live, you do a Facebook Live, and no one but your mama watches, right? And you just keep talking to some audience member, because maybe on the recording, somebody else is going to watch, right? And then all of a sudden you get a like or an emoji of some kind. And then maybe somebody asked you a question to clarify something that you said. It starts out so small, but that right there, I mean, what a great time to be living. We can connect with people all around the world live or through recordings or in their car, whatever it is, right? We can do this now, and that's not something that our parents could do. That's not something that our that's
Okay.
definitely not anything our grandparents could do.
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity to connect, whether it's personally or professionally, around the world, but we just have to get out of our own way. You are good
Mhm.
enough. And if you aren't, I said this one time to a large group of people. I said, take a picture of yourself, like grab out your phone, take a picture of yourself. And then, everybody's got to like grumble about it. And then I said, now look at that picture. That is what you look like. I'm sorry, that is what you look like.
Yeah.
So there's nothing preventing you from going and recording yourself right now when you step out of here, something, and putting it out there, because this is exactly what you look like in person. And people didn't go running away from you when they saw you, right? That you're not a hideous beast. You are a human being, and people need to see you. And we have the opportunity to do that. So I don't know if I really answered your question, other than just saying, get out there, be consistent.
No, you're going to think that I'm lying. I'm going to tell you the truth. I was reading right before this. As a good host, I do a little bit of research, but I like to do like a refresher right before we like go on a call, so that way I don't like ask you some question that's like, oh yeah, that's not true or whatever. But I was reading your blog, and one of the things that you mentioned, um, or on your website, but you mentioned like that is who you look like. Like, be okay with what you look like, because that's what you look like, and just go and do it. And what's so funny is I read that and I was like, okay, like, I've been seeing lots of pictures of myself, and I've been feeling kind of down about the way I look this week because I'm in a bunch of pictures and stuff. I'm like, dang, is that what I look like? But right before I came on here, I'm going to show you. I took a picture of myself. There I am. I took a like there it was, 20 minutes ago, and I was like, that's, you know what? I was wearing this straw hat that I got because it's just a funny hat. But I was like, that's what I look like. Like, I'm gonna go talk to this guy and just like be cool with whatever. Like, I know I'm not in the perfect lighting and I'm gonna be sweaty and all this stuff, and but like I went and did that. So I just want to say like that resonated with me before you even said that. And it's just like crazy that you brought that up, because I just, you did your website doesn't say go take a picture of yourself, but it's just funny because you were just like, be okay with what you look like, and I had to like kind of psych myself up, and I just looked at myself in a picture I took of myself. I was like, all right, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
I'm about to be staring at myself, for the next hour anyway. So let's just get it over with.
And I bet if you posted that on Instagram or wherever you you choose to social, right? That would probably get more engagement than the last post that you did because
Yeah.
people love that. I Most of the time I fly out. I live in Atlanta, so I fly out of the Atlanta airport. Most of the time it's pretty early morning for me. I look a hot mess, but the pictures that get the most engagement is me at the gate because I'm doing something. I'm out in the wild. Oh my goodness, I'm out in the wild, and people love that. And I think that that's something that I I I I don't want people to I don't want anyone to think because I wear flamboyant outfits, sequins and rhinestones or whatever. It's a part of my um it's just a part of my toolkit. It's not something that I have to do. It's something I want to do. It's something that kind of fits into my story, but it is not natural for me to go up and talk to a stranger. It is not I want to engage with other human beings. And at the end of the day, I have to my face could be fat, it could be gaunt, it could be anything. My hair could be falling out. I'm not going to go and hide away. The connection is everything, and the connection isn't just about business and networking. I think it's also how you interact in your company. You are good enough. You're more than good enough. You're you, and that's something that you should own. But obviously, I feel very passionate about it. I think that's because I see so many people who are holding themselves back and kind of blocking the blessings. Um, you just kind of have to take that leap or have a dragon step into your body. I don't know.
Man, I y- just honestly talking to you this last however long it's been, 30ish, has been a huge blessing. And I'm not just saying that podcast, I'm trying to like glaze or anything like that. Like, I think we just mentioned like the clothes that you wear and it's part of your toolkit. And I was like, that word just unlocked like so much for me personally, because I often think about presentation of myself and it's like, if I dress like this normally and then I decide that like, oh, like I'm usually wearing black t-shirt and black pants, but if I throw on this like 90s fluorescent, pink and blue like Columbia jacket that I have, is that me trying too hard? Is that me being because I worry about that. Do people think I'm trying too hard or I'm being performative, or is that part of my toolkit? I'm going to use
Yeah.
that. I will definitely credit you wherever I go, but I love that uh that's just you have so many good words and like ways about being confident in yourself, and I just am just like learning so much from you, and just how to be more presentable in my true self. I was telling my boss this maybe it was a few weeks ago. Maybe it was on like our last like one-on-one. And I was like, dude, I was like, I don't want to like say that you were delusionally confident. And he's like, oh no, I am. I'm delusionally confident. And I was like, I want that. I want to be delusionally confident in myself. Like I know that I can accomplish things, but I get rational, and maybe not over rational there. And I prevent myself from doing things. I want to be delusionally confident. I want to get out of my own way and look at myself and say like, this is what I look like. And part of my toolkit is going to be how I dress and how I do these things. And that's going to give me the power to go after maybe a dragon too. I don't know yet. I'll have to figure out what my spirit being
Let's
is,
just
but when I figure that out, yeah. I do have a dragon tattoo, so maybe I don't want to take dragon from you though. Maybe I'll find something
No,
else.
I think there's plenty of dragons to go around,
Okay.
and it fits, right? Especially
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're having to do, um, even if it's not creating content, but even it's when you're having to give maybe difficult feedback to a peer
Mm.
or even your boss or direct report. Sometimes you need something to push you along to and what however you want to imagine it. But I love that you're taking it's part of your toolkit because um something that kind of evolved for me naturally was that I got into all these. If I was going to be on stage, I have all these like stage outfits, like I'm Dolly Parton. I've got like rhinestone outfits and sequin outfits. This is not how I dress every day. I promise you, I don't. Like if you saw me at the Kroger, I am not dressed like this, right? But it has become a part of when I'm going to be on stage and communicating to large audiences, this is a part of that character. But then the other part of who I am is the business person. And I'm in jeans and flip flops, and we're having a one-on-one, and I need to show up with as much authenticity there as I do when I've got this costume on that kind of puts me over the top. But at the end of the day, you are who you are, and think about it too, like a TV show or a movie. There's all these characters, right? And they're cast. Somebody might have a beard and wear a baseball cap. That's that character, right? Somebody might wear an oversized jumper, right? Like that's their character. And human beings do like to be able to categorize, this is who this person is, or they're like this. But then when you throw in a fluorescent jacket, all of a sudden, whoa, now, oh, there's some surprises here. We're only peeling the one layer of the onion.
I yeah, that is I'm just like, I don't know, that's such a simple, like, I love that you mentioned, like, I'm gonna wear the rhinestone jacket when I'm going on stage, because this is it's still me. This is the part of me I need to embody to speak on what I'm speaking about. Now, when I've got to go do my, one-on-one review or whatever, I'll tone it back, and I'll just do the boring, button up and blazer or whatever. But like, no, that is, I don't know, man. That's just, I love that piece of advice, because there's so many, like, I mean, this is just, we're getting into just like fashion now, but
Yeah.
I really want a leather jacket that has like the tassels hanging out, I just think those are just like so cool. And I'm like, in what world would I wear that? What world would my wife let me get it? Like, in what world does that make sense? I don't like, I'm not a cowboy. I don't smoke, I'm not in a band, like what is that? Where does that fit? But I think that if I can add it to my toolkit in the appropriate way, and it helps me show up as my authentic self through the little, little dangly things hanging there. I think that's where it gives me the permission to do that. Now, if it doesn't fit my authentic self, it's not part of the toolkit. I'll think I'll move on, and I'll just imagine that one day I'll wear it. But like,
Mhm.
I think like that is just, and I'm being a little hyperbolic talking about clothing, but like, obviously, like, you can make the toolkit uh, phrase that you're talking about embody any part of you that you need to give yourself the permission to do what you need to do at the level you're doing it at, or the level you want to do it at.
Right. And I'm glad that you brought it there, because within my content sphere, what Joshua Harrell, the content I create, I have on joshuaharrell.com, I have my blog, and I am talking about my experiences. I'm talking about taking care of my mom with Alzheimer's. I'm talking
Yeah.
about real moments, right? But then there's also the voice that I talk about travel marketeering, and that's sales and marketing and service delivery through systems for travel advisors. Travel marketeering is a part of me. It's just another part of me, and
Yeah.
that is this voice around marketing. And then there's another part that I put on my LinkedIn. I have my Unscripted Advantage newsletter on LinkedIn, and that's still me, but that's me talking, taking all my leadership experiences, the mistakes, the wins, the things, and sharing that with other leaders, no matter what business they're in. I had to create a world where all of those voices could be, because that was important to me. It's not important to everybody. Everybody doesn't need to have, four different channels of communication. But for me, that was really important. And I'm going to get real. I'm going to get real personal on you. A few years back, I was diagnosed with cancer. I'm okay now. Okay, but I was diagnosed with cancer, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was going to kind of go through, the treatment or whatever. It was supposed to be a short treatment period, and I knew right after I got diagnosed, I was going to run into a friend of mine who I knew had had cancer and already been through it. and I was just going to tell him about this. And I said, and I got to him and I told him, and he said, you need to tell your entire network, everybody around you, that you're going through this, because I told him I'm just going to just keep it private. And I said, no, 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 I don't want anybody to see that I'm vulnerable. Like, I don't, I don't want my work, I don't want to impact. He said, no. He said he had cancer twice. He said the first time he kept it private and he got through it. That's fine. The second time he told his world. And he said the amount of energy that came his way helped him survive and get better. Okay. And of course, at this moment, I'm in the space of, I just been diagnosed with cancer. I had one plan, and now my friend is telling me to do something else. So the way that I chose to do this, and not everybody would choose this, I was going to the gym, and I just took out my phone in the car in the parking lot, and I said, what's up, guys? I have cancer. And I'm just going to document this process for the next couple of weeks, whatever. And I put that on YouTube. I had a zero YouTube audience. I still do. No, nobody's following me on YouTube. But that first video went to like 40,000 views in a weekend. I don't know how it even flew into that.
Oh,
But the amount of energy that came back from people all around the world, people I never knew, I don't even know how they found it, made me as a human being get through something very, very tough and scary. And I'll always take that with me as an example of, I wasn't trying to create viral content. I wasn't seeking attention. I was just trying to tell this story one time and not have to tell it again. Like, I was like, go to YouTube and you can find it out. And that was back in 2022. That was a huge lesson for me, because that was when I had to be as authentic as I could be. And I didn't get money out of it. I only got the fact that there are people out in this world that want to hear your voice, about various different things that you wouldn't expect that they want to hear. So just don't hold back, I think, is and the other thing is stop trying to overthink everything. I heard someone else, there's somebody who's on YouTube now who talks about this, who says these things in a different order, but I really believe this. It's all about get going, get smart, and get good. I think people hold back from creating content in its various forms because they think they need to be good right out of the gate. And you're never going to be good right out of the gate. The first 11 videos you make are going to be crap. They're going to be absolute crap. And you've got to let that live out there, because then you're going to get smart about it and then you're going to get good. But if you don't get going, you're just talking about stuff.
yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for being vulnerable and talking about that on your YouTube, actually, when I was doing research. So I'm glad to hear that you were, doing better. But yeah, I somebody out there, not somebody, there's lots of people out there that want to like hear your unique point of view, or are looking for a unique point of view, a spiky point of view, so to speak, that they would like that to help them get through something, to help them make a tough decision, to help them figure out how to, even feel about something. Sometimes, we're so overwhelmed with bad things happening and emotion. Sometimes we need somebody else to just experience it with us, even if they are across the country or anything. And I think, anybody that ever is like, I had a friend send me a message the other day that was like, I want to start a Substack, but I don't really know what to talk about. And like, nobody is like, of course, like nobody cares, whatever. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know if he's watching right now. If he is, I'm sorry for throwing you under the bus. But he was telling me he kind of brought it up about like his opinion. Somebody was really interested in his opinion on dry shampoo, and this guy is bald. So I think that is already such a spiky point of view of like, And what kind of makes me mad is he sent me a voice message and told me about it. And I immediately replied and was like, I want to know tell me right now your opinion on dry shampoo, please. And he hasn't told me yet. But I was like, somebody out there wants to hear that opinion because somebody asked you to talk about it. He's like, somebody on a sales call wanted me to talk about dry shampoo. And I was like, well, okay, well, there you go. I mean, like, I mean, first of all, a man's opinion on dry shampoo, I think, is already you might have an audience there because there's a space of men or that people that don't use it, that want to use it and think they can't use it or don't know how to use it, and like they need somebody who looks like them or at least to help them figure out how to do it. And it just goes on. I mean, I've got another friend who started a soap company that's aimed at men, not because men need different kinds of soap necessarily, but because men don't know how to wash themselves. I mean, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but really, like, self-care for men is something that I think a lot of times people who they're looking for other people that look like them to do these things, and we're afraid to ask, and we're afraid to wash our face, whatever it may be, fix our hair or do whatever, or maybe not afraid. You're just don't know how to do it, and you need somebody who looks like you to show you how to do it or tell you how to do it.
Right. Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, and I came from the cosmetic industry, so I had a different experience, but it's a secret language,
Mm,
right? A lot of women have always been surrounded by all the options,
mm,
but men, that hasn't always been the case. And it's the same, like, if all of a sudden you got into gardening, you might not know anything about gardening, and then all of
right.
a sudden somebody shows you this little thing, and then you learn something, through your mistakes or whatever, kind of evolves. I think TikTok, I love what TikTok has done to content, because I I don't love the fact that it's ruined me for long form content, right?
Yeah.
There are shows that I've watched for 25 years, and now I can't get through one episode because I need to,
You have
I
to
need
watch them on TikTok in parts now.
yeah, in parts now, and out of order, right?
Yeah.
But I love watching, I love watching real people live, doing a live stream on TikTok, and they're just taking questions from whoever's in the room.
Yeah.
And that's entertaining because, we like to connect with people, and there's plenty of people out there that do not have big circles of friends. And so the online community is a great way to connect. But what I have seen in my business space is I have seen travel advisors who don't have fancy lights, rigs. They're going live on TikTok, and they're doing live quotes for vacations on TikTok.
Hmm.
And what I love about
Wow.
it is they can do that. I mean, it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
But what I love about that is, if you have never worked with a travel advisor before, and you get to be an observer as somebody is asking about, like, putting together a 7-day trip to Mexico or whatever, and you hear this advisor asking questions that you would have never thought about if you were booking online. You're now These travel advisors are being able to showcase what their profession truly is. They're not order takers. They're the people who actually understand how all of this works. And the way they get paid is by ensuring that you get the vacation that you wanted, and ultimately delivering on that promise. But these people who are just going live for 4 hours on a Friday night and doing this, they're creating content, and they're drawing an audience. This is an audience that you would pay for, through Meta ads or Google search. You're getting it for free just because you were vulnerable enough to go live and show behind the curtain a little bit. I think it's brilliant. I think there's so many things that we can learn from these people creating content on TikTok.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And it's, like you said, just you're showing how. I mean, that's good for if you're wanting to be like a personal creator, you want to create for your business, like show how you do the thing that you do, and give your opinion, like just show how easy it is. And it's like you said, you're building an audience that you would pay for. I mean, how much are email addresses and those kind of things now? Like I mean, yeah, if you've got somebody locked in on a live stream of any kind, I mean, that is uh, I mean, the attention span, if you're able to keep somebody on there, that's That's crazy. I mean, I've even seen people like, open Pokemon cards, but they're talking about business or they're talking, things like that. They're doing unique things to keep people's attention while they are also shelling out, good information or explaining something or giving advice. And it's like, well, I think that's why I like the I don't think they're as popular now, but the Get Ready with Me's on YouTube,
Yeah.
like in the 2010s up to 2020ish were like super popular. People just, putting on their makeup in the morning and they're just talking about this is what I'm going to do today, or they're answering questions. Like it's yeah, I think it's that those kind of things I feel like is a perfect combination of
I
oh,
so
okay.
now there some alarm is going off.
Oh no. Um that's okay. Hey, it's part of the thing of the vulnerability. I was getting into being vulnerable there. But like being vulnerable and everything we talked about, I think is kind of culminated by that is like being vulnerable. And like there showing up, being yourself, living, giving yourself a toolkit to live authentically and show up and get out of your own way, be comfortable with what you look like, who you are, and just do it. Um, Joshua, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I know we're coming up on time, and I'll be respectful of your time. I didn't get to ask you all the questions that we wanted to ask and the things that we wanted to talk about, but I personally got a, selfishly, and I really enjoyed like talking to you is genuinely it was a fresh breath of air, just to be as cheesy as possible. That's
Oh.
the best way I can describe it. But I would like to just ask, the last question that I ask is what hill would you die on when it comes to create content? And I wanted to like throw that out there so you could answer that quickly, but also like pitch the things that you do a little bit better because I didn't give you the opportunity to really talk about that. So I want to make sure that you get the opportunity to plug some things also.
Well, you know what? I don't need to plug anything because I think people will find me in their path when they're looking, right? They're gonna find me. But I'd love a follow on TikTok and Instagram at Joshua Harrell. Follow me there. If you are interested in selling travel, come check out Worldvia Travel Network. I'd love that. But the hill that I would die on is very much about what we've been talking about, and that is just go live. Just go live. Even if you don't have anything to say, just do it once, do it twice, do it 3 times. You are going to find your tribe, but you will not find them if you don't go live. And that is where the magic is at right now. I think everyone will tell you that the success stories that you see, it's all about, and all these platforms are really biasing to the live streams. So just go live. You are a phenomenal force, and there's only one you in this galaxy.
That was a great way to wrap it up. I agree. Go live. Be yourself and go live and come back and listen to this episode multiple times because that is there's so many nuggets and great pieces of advice. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for hopping on and seeing that I'm sitting on the ground, in the middle of a courtyard and not being like, oh, this is. I'm glad that you didn't leave immediately. So thank you so much for taking the time to
So,
be here and to chat with me. It was a really and honestly great conversation. Thank you.
thank you, Trevor. I would love to come back.
Oh, me too. I think we got so much more to talk about. I could talk to you for hours. So I would love to have you come back anytime you're ready to.
Awesome.
So I'll talk to you later.
Bye.